Kevin, what is this show?
I haven't seen you since the play.
Expect the worst. Some drink champagne, some die of thirst. No way of knowing which way it's going. Hope for the best, expect the worst. Hope for the best, expect the worst. The world's a stage, we're unrehearsed. Some reach the top, friends, while others drop, friends. Hope for the best, expect the worst. I knew a man who said a fortune that was splendid. Then he died the day he planned to go and spend it shouting, live while you're alive. No one will survive. Life is sorrow. Here today and gone tomorrow. Live while you're alive. No one will survive. There's no guarantee.
Okay, we're gonna dive right into The Witcher. Now, right into, again, my favorite fucking thing to do is say, and to kick things off 50 minutes into pressing record, let's wrap up with Geralt, Yennefer, and company with the final 2 episodes of The Witcher Season 1, shall we?
I just gotta say, as the person who is like got fresh eyes, huh?
Let me just say one thing. Okay, let me just
hear me out. Hear me out, okay? So, as the person that's coming into this who like with like the freshest eyes, because like I literally didn't watch it until 2 days, like now, right? This is my first watch through. I am mad at myself for not getting past episode 1 earlier. And because
now you're here.
Now I'm here, and I'm caught up, and I'm enjoing the ride. This is
Jace, just so you know,
so...
I was mad at you too. So.
Yeah, I'm glad.
Yeah.
Kevin,
I know how annoying.
You're supposed to say I'm not mad. I'm just disappointed.
I'm disappointed. I know how upset I get when people are like, okay, the first season is bad, but just like get to like halfway through season 2, and I'm like, I can't sit through all this bad TV. But we were like, literally just get past the first episode.
Dude, but also like getting into episode 7 and being like, oh, episode 1, and then episode 8 being like, oh, episode 1. It's like,
we warned you.
I was like,
we
damn, I'm gonna have to rewatch this whole fucking thing now. Because I was like, the whole time, it's amazing because for me, I was like, okay, how am I going to keep track of these timelines? Because they are a tad bit convoluted. They are a little bit difficult. Let's be honest. Yeah, okay.
I'm kidding.
There's a lot of
like,
names and kingdoms.
I was like, what kind of big brain logic puzzles are you doing on the weekends to be able to keep up with every site?
Oh, I have to do logic with a 4-year-old. I'm well more qualified.
That would explain your WandaVision theories being so in depth. But literally, like, it was one of those things where I was like, by the time we got to the end, I was like, oh, okay. I don't fully know the order of operations here, right? But I know enough about the things that happened to make sense as to where we are now. And the fact that we started in one place and then we just like kind of, Cirilla was the only one that went forward and the rest of them kind of looped back and then we caught up.
Yeah.
Yes. Now they after stringing us along for 8 episodes, right? They kind of like you're like slowly piecing together the timeline and like where are we and what is, where exactly is everyone in relation to each other, and then they perfectly fucking nail it at the end of season 1. Boom, everyone's in the same timeline.
Here's my question.
Geralt and Ciri are together. Boom.
Right. Here's my question structurally for season 2.
Go ahead.
Which I'm so very excited about because I'm assuming we're gonna finally hear the story of what makes a Witcher a Witcher, and like the story behind Geralt and his mom, who we like get like a tiny just little crumbs of. But here's the thing:
the you're not gonna get much more of the mom. She's just not like a character in this universe. You're gonna get like tidbits, but she's not.
But those tidbits, those are crumbs that we're gonna get more of because clearly the mom had something to do with how he became a Witcher. He has some sort of grudge with his mom about why his eyes are the way they are and why he's a Witcher. I don't know anything about the lore.
She sold him.
Yeah, she gave him away, like Jennifer's dad gave her away.
But they show her being like, "Go get some water," and then leaving him.
Yeah, because she's like, the Witchers are going to come pick you up. Yeah.
She was like, go
she
there.
She didn't leave the baby in a basket on the doorstep.
Yeah, but that's not.
But that's
someone
what she
that
was
doesn't know the games or any of the context. That's not clear. That's not something that's made. So I think we're gonna get a little bit more of a clarification on because I had no idea that you become a Witcher by being sold to other Witchers. Like what? I don't know any of that. Right?
Ostensibly, that's not the only way.
Okay, so I don't.
There are many ways.
Right. So,
but you're right.
We're gonna get a little bit more of that, which I'm excited about. So I guess that answers my other question because for me, I was going, and it makes sense that they did that because one of the things that's an exciting moment with this show is the non-linear storytelling. And now that they've ended season 1 with us caught up and all on the same page with the timeline, how are they going to reintegrate a multiple timeline kind of storytelling, a non-linear story? And I'm now realizing we're probably going to get Geralt flashbacks to how he became a Witcher. Maybe not for a long time, but a little bit. Other than that, what else are we going to get as flashbacks? Like, maybe we're going to get some Mousik flashbacks because we know that, like, Caleb, you had some questions about what was whispered around the time, when he was on the ground after the sacking of.
He just disappears for like an episode, and you don't know what the fuck he did.
Right. So I'm excited to see how they keep that nonlinear storytelling because that was such an exciting element to this season, and I feel fundamentally if they don't keep that nonlinear aspect, it's not going to be the same show.
I think the non-linearity we will see a de-emphasis on, with the exception of flashbacks, which I don't necessarily think of as like non-linearity.
Right.
But in the same way, I think we are still going to get a good mixture of episodic meets expansive, and part of that is based on like, I've seen some casting for season 2 and I'm like, well, this is a short story character, so we're not done with the episodic short story portion of the Witcher show.
Right.
I think
which makes
he
sense,
is not done
because the story's
being
fundamentally
a
not
monster
about
hunter.
Geralt. So in order for us to keep us focused on The Witcher in The Witcher, we need to tell stories of The Witcher outside of the main story.
Yeah, if I were guessing, I earnestly don't know. If I were guessing, these short stories are going to be him training Ciri in the use of like her powers and like bringing her on monster quests. That would be a guess.
But even still, that fits into a very linear structure. I hear what you're saying. You don't think that they're gonna do that non-linear storytelling.
Because I think we caught up. I think we did it.
Caught up, and I think that that's exciting, but I also fundamentally think that that is a surefire way to get a beloved show not to have a beloved second season. Right? When you change the form of a show, you know what I mean? Like, that's because as someone that is, that got into the show, part of the exciting thing about it is, and they even mirror it in the way that each episode starts with like those crests, and then at the very end, all the crests meld together and make that Witcher wolf thing
together,
which is so fucking cool. I remember like literally audibly gasping, not even knowing why I was gasping, but just being taken by the imagery of that moment. That's a part of the show, is the way that these things non-linearly come together. That was a metaphor for the show. So I look at it and I go, please don't give me a season 2 of Stranger Things where I feel like I'm watching a different genre.
No, I think they're smarter than that. I think Laura Schmidt-Hidrich is a better writer than that. They seem like they're smart and economical with the way they do this. I think I'm sorry to invoke this show for the second time since we've sat down, but Lost did a good thing where, okay, for the first 3 seasons we're doing flashbacks, and then we start doing flash forwards, as like we are still keeping this essential
forward style thing. I think
I'm not saying we're going to literally do that, but I think they're going to keep a similar style of storytelling, even if it's not non-linear.
I think the one, I don't even want to say half-baked, like quarter-baked theory I have is that when we get into season 2, we're not going to pick up exactly where we left off. We're going to jump ahead, and then season 2 is going to be putting the pieces back together to where we are, and then maybe eventually like if we get into a season 3 or a season 4, maybe that's when we start off, boom, right where we left off, and then we start having flash forward type non-linearities, and maybe get into that. But I'm just excited to see what they do.
So forgive me if I zone for a second.
No
my
worries.
brain is mush right now.
Good.
So if this has already been said,
children, Caleb. It's totally
this has already
fine.
been said. Fuck my face. But they.
I mean, if you ask nicely.
I feel like this second season. I mean, you don't have to ask nicely in that situation. If you just say that, that's enough for some people.
Caleb, children.
There's a reason I have children, Jason.
I lived in the Bay Area, but I'm a father now.
Yeah, I'm familiar with avian creatures and bees. My theory for season 2 is that it's built exactly like season 1 to a degree. I think it would be incredible if season 2 opens with like Vesemir doing some
cool
shit.
Guy.
And then cuts away to Geralt and Ciri doing some shit, and then cuts to Yennefer, who's in some other plane of existence, doing some shit. And all of season 2 is lining up how Yennefer gets back to Geralt and Ciri, and how Geralt and Ciri find his mentor, Vesemir, and they just cut it up in 3 separate storylines again, and they weave together and line up.
Vesemir?
Vesemir's Geralt's like
you haven't met him.
We haven't met him yet.
You haven't. Yet. You don't know him. But he is the old. He's headmaster Witcher. He's grandfather Witcher.
Yeah.
So then, yes,
super cool dude.
I think. Okay, tying into what I was thinking. Now that I know that that's a character, I think it would make a lot of sense for them to be like, here's this new character, and then we get flashbacks of Geralt learning from
the adventures of young Vesemir.
Right. Well, we get, or not even necessarily young Vesemir, but like young Geralt being trained by Vesemir and being paired up with that, and yeah, the main storyline that we're following through. So I that would be the flashback storyline, and the main through line would be naturally Geralt and Ciri catching up with Yennefer, which they must.
Sounds good. And Jaskier is there too.
Yes, Jaskier must come back at some point. That would be such a sad.
Oh, he's good. He's a huge character. He's like I don't know, for ranking Witcher importance, he's number 4. You know, like he's gonna be around.
Okay,
don't worry about it.
Good news. Very happy about that. The other thing that I want more of is, I don't remember his name. The dude with the sword that always comes back to his sheath. The mage.
Dope
warrior.
That guy rules.
That was so cool. Like, it takes a lot for me to be really excited by like a fight scene, you know, because usually I'm like, fighting, got it, cool.
Yes,
you know,
fighting.
I thought I liked the enchanted rocks that they throw, that they shoot arrows at that turn into like bombs. That was an amazing way of like modern artillery
wizard shit.
Yeah,
wizard
I was like, this
shit.
is fire. This is so sick. And like,
it's literally fire.
Sorry.
But
like,
sorry. I deserve that. I had that comment.
But like,
no, I earned that.
Like, they're doing this fight with this guy that we saw from like episode 1, who's like chasing after Ciri on the horse. You know, very like
the
black
Paul Dano looking motherfucker. Yeah.
Whatever, right? Sinister.
I do know what the fuck he looked like. Paul Dano's.
I do not know his name, but my partner and I refer to him only as Paul Dano. Like, the character's name is Paul Dano.
Who's Paul Dano?
The guy playing Riddler in the new Batman movie. The guy.
The preacher in There Will Be Blood. The Air Force pilot, the colorblind Air Force pilot in Little Miss Sunshine.
Yeah. The suspected
boy, if you Google Paul Dano, you'll be like, yes.
Okay, yeah, if I saw
the
like,
actor he has been blessed
fight.
with the most punchable face of all time.
Dude.
He has been blessed with this face that just it's a gift for an actor.
We talked about him on another episode. Oh my god. Breaking Bad, Mandalorian,
Giancarlo.
He is the inverse Giancarlo.
Because when he shows up on a show, you're like, the hero is fucked. We're fucked now.
But like, Giancarlo's got this like sinister like undercurrent, and this guy looks like, I want to kill. I hate you. I just met you when I hate you.
Paul Dano has a weaker Steve Buscemi energy, and I love Steve Buscemi. But you're like, this fucking weasel, this fucking dude. great actors who, again, it's a gift you can have as an actor. That it's like, you just look like a fucking rat, and it's the best skill you could possibly have.
So the soldier mage guy, right, that fights them. First of all, that fight scene is gnarly, like absolutely brutally cool, with just that like magical boomerang that doesn't fly action.
His
like
Mjolnir sword,
all it stands back. So sick. Very exciting. Also, that man is so attractive, and when they pulled him in, I was like, thank God that just the diversity of this cast is so exciting for fucking fantasy. Like, wow. Oh, so
it's unbelievable.
It's very,
and it's not just like one side. It's not as if we've made like the Aryan side and the diverse side. It's like, no, Fringilla Vigo, the witch on the bad side, is a dark-skinned black woman.
Which I also love is like more so a commentary on like the way that like intergenerational like nepotism. Like it's a cautionary tale of nepotism and like that kind of fascistic thinking outside of the lens of race, which is like a complicated thing to discuss because you can't really remove race from those discussions. But in this fantasy realm, the way that they play with it, I think it's really cool and a really refreshing take on the genre to be like, yeah, she's the fucking bad guy, but it's a very cool thing. Also, the way that they pull in, getting back into like what actually happens in these episodes, when they establish, you know, the court of all the wizards, the witches, the mages, whatever you want to fucking call them. In the earlier episodes, you're like, okay, you know, this makes sense. There's like, you know, the magical beings gather and they discuss what's happening throughout the continent and they kind of make sure everything's like totally fine. And then at the end you start to see, no, not only are they just like there, they're secretly running the show. And the way that you then realize that the events of the first episode are directly tied to Yennefer and the people that Yennefer knows, it was like, whoa. Because you go through it and you're like, okay, you start to piece together that Geralt ties into the first episode. You get that. But then you're like,
he was there.
He was literally there. We were just talking about this in the
melted the first time I watched this. I can't, like, we were kind of
she just looks off
deep
to the side.
into the we were a ways into the episode before I was like, he was there the whole time. He was underneath the first episode. He was downstairs for the first episode of the show. Blew my fucking brain. Unbelievable.
Even the moments
this
where,
show pulls
where there's like moments where you can tell that they're whispering, but you can't hear what they're saying, or you know, just like just really, really well executed stuff. But to also know the undercurrent, the political undercurrent, was being driven by something related to a character that we haven't been introduced to yet, and then becomes a major character, and then the whole time you're like, oh, this is just another character that's kind of relevant for how things go around in this world, and she matches up with Geralt. But then to see, no, she also fundamentally played a role in what we saw in the first episode. It's episode one.
Unbelievable.
It's wild because it's one of those things where it's like you watch an episode one is like, okay, okay, sure. You know, like for me, it took me out. Episode one, I couldn't get past it. And now it's one of those things where it's like after you finish season one, you're like, yo, episode one was there only for the payoff for the ending. Like it was there only for the people that have seen the whole thing. And that's an exciting structural element. But like, you know, it's wow.
And then by the time we get to that, it's such a brilliant structural move. Like it's non-linearity with a purpose. It's intention. With intention that by the time we get to this siege, we've already seen all the Ciri on her own stuff, so we can then next episode have that fucking crescendo payoff where the two of them find each other in the woods, and it's cool. Just like the kind of season finale that you just dream of when you're watching or writing a show, where you just pump your goddamn fist and you're like, where is the next season of this show?
Yeah, absolutely. I just that little you just heard me say, I realize now I'm hoping so desperately for us to see, because there's this moment where we see Ciri, you know, she's being attacked by the people she used to hang out with, and then we see this weird moment where she's like taken over by some spirit, and you're like, what's happening? And there's a blackout, and they come back, and they're all like dead. Where I hope we get to see from an outside perspective what fucking went down. What was that? Why did she do that? What caused that? Y'all might know because you know this story a little bit, but like
I know what's going on. I feel like next season we're going to get. Yeah, I think this show again is smart enough. It just based on this first season to not make us wait for season 3 for this information. I
think they set up those new questions very explicitly to be like, hey, because it's super easy to be like, and now here's like a plot setup for the next season, and you're like, okay, yeah, that keeps me a little bit drawn. But they also asked new specific questions that I think are more to pull you in rather than to keep you holding on. I think they're literally going to be something I'm hoping, and I think based on what you're saying and what I'm getting from the way that they tell stories, is we're going to get pretty early on, we're going to get answers to some of these questions, and then we're just going to be in a new realm, and we're going to be moving forward from there.
Mm-hmm. Because we already kind of know some pieces of what's going on, right? It's like a good kind of mystery is that they keep kind of feeding you little fucking goldfish crackers to keep you going along. That it's like, we know it has something to do with her bloodline. Geralt would be tangentially aware of her bloodline and at least like be able to trace it back a little bit. And certainly Vesemir, who's hundreds of years old, would probably know. And it's all kind of tied.
Is Vesemir the guy that he was saying he wanted to be taken to for healing? Is it?
He does mention Vesemir. Yeah.
I don't think they say his name, but is that who he's implying? He's like, there's a guy that lives over here. He can heal me.
Yeah. Oh, he says Kaer Morhen, which is like the Witcher fortress school, etc.
Yeah. The Witcher Batcave.
And it's the Witcher Batcave. So, Witcher Avengers Tower.
We get to hear more about that place. That would be very...
The Witcher Xavier Mansion, etc.
Etc.
Etc. So that I think this is, so far, this show has proven to be smart enough to be like, we're going to keep a little mystery on there, but we're not going to make you wait for anything. We're going to keep like feeding you along. Just this very smart way that they tease out some information and keep some hidden. It's just, it's really intelligently fucking put
versus
together.
WandaVision, where I'm just like dying because I have no idea what's happening.
Hey, the first 4 episodes of this show are also wildly confusing.
That's very true.
This is true.
There's a article that came out. I can't remember who published it, but it was like, WandaVision's not bad. People just forgot how to watch TV.
Yeah, people forgot what it was like to watch, Lost every week and be like, okay.
But also not to get too far back into that discussion, but also something I mentioned is the way that we structure TV now has been so deeply informed by Netflix and the way that we take inspiration from miniseries and put it into actual TV series. It's like, it's not only did we forget how to watch TV, but TV has evolved to adapt to the reality where we don't typically watch it. So it's flexing an old muscle in a new way. It's doubled up.
I think this is a good version, but I love that I can talk about each episode for a week with my friend.
Exactly. And then when we go, but the thing is, it's also going to pay off in such a way that when we go back after we've got all of it and we binge it, we're going to be super fucking stoked.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's the way it used to be, because The Witcher is a perfect synthesis of the two universes that television has existed in, right? Because there was the old model where it aired every week, usually without fail, and they had like stats is that even like the most dedicated fan of any given TV show saw 1 out of every 4 episodes. Like, even the most dedicated Cheers watcher did not watch every episode of Cheers. Right? Or, and a show like Twin Peaks really changes that game, is that, like, no, it's fucking Twin Peaks night, and you're gonna watch Twin Peaks because you don't want to miss the mystery. And then we kind of got too far away with that, too far away from that with a lot of Netflix shows, where it's like, we know you're going to watch every episode, so we're going to fucking wait to do anything. And now The Witcher is a great
Netflix shows that do like from
there
the
are good ones.
Like they go
like Glow is an excellent show.
Glow is an excellent one. Dear White People, like just jump from the jump, you're in it.
Yeah,
like
I'm sorry, I'm throwing them all in a bin unfairly. That there are like BoJack does not wait to give you
the point stands. You know, a lot of these shows, because they do pump out a lot of them. That is their business model. A lot of them are designed in a way where it's like, well, we want you to binge the whole thing, so how are we going to cause you to stay on long enough to be hooked or be like... They're literally trying to force a sunken cost fallacy onto the viewers. They're trying to be like, well, I've already watched this many episodes, so might as well go through the rest of them. But yeah,
right.
I mean, they're trying to fabricate a connection or the word left my brain. I cannot speak English anymore. But they're trying to fabricate that kind of desire to continue with these shows, and it's really exciting when you can tell that they're not trying. You know, like you can. It's so easy to see when a show is trying. They're like, "Look at us, look at me," and then The Witcher's like, "You can look if you want," and then you're like, "Tell me more."
We're gonna be doing Witcher stuff over here, whether you come or not. Exactly. But like, you can watch if you want to,
and that's ultimately far more enticing.
Absolutely, exactly. It's we were talking about it a little bit before Daddy Host got on.
How dare you?
Like? The Office was the most watched show on Netflix for, again, 5 years straight because, like, guess what? Every episode of The Office was self-contained, and it made you want to watch more.
Well, but also, since they are self-contained, you don't need to worry about content. You don't need to worry about checking out for 10 minutes or something and then coming back into the room and being like, what's going on?
Exactly. Is that, like, that keeps you, and we talked about it as we went along, but this show has a great balance of, like, okay, we're going to give you, episode 2. For instance, is like, here is the introduction of Yennefer, a good first Yennefer story, and so that you don't feel unfulfilled, we're also going to give you Geralt and Jaskier hanging out with some elves, you know, and we're going to wrap that up. And you have a sense of completion on top of a sense of, I want to see where this Yennefer thing is going.
Or like, why are you telling these two separate stories? Or like, you know...
Yeah, why isn't... Because on a normal show I'd be watching, these characters would know each other. So, like, what's going on here? Right. Whereas, like, I mean, I've compared it to this show before, but, like, some violence and cursing aside, The Witcher just feels like fucking Xena. Where it's like, no, every Saturday at 2, you're going to watch another episode of Xena. And Xena has, like, a little overarching thing, but, like, also she's going to have a self-contained story this episode. And it has that same, like, oh, I gotta fucking sit down Saturday at 2. Yeah. I don't want to miss Xena.
It's just really exciting to see the way that we have, like, the way that kind of storytelling has expanded. Like, there are examples where it's like you literally don't need to have seen any of the other episodes to know what's going on, and then there are shows where it's like if you don't know the previous episode, you have no idea what's going on, and there's a whole gamut in between. And I think it's also interesting. Yes. These are thoughts coming to me like right now. I've never really thought about this before. I would also have to say, the reality TV show craze, such as like American Idol, probably had something deeply profound to do with that. In the idea of you could miss a week of American Idol and then come in and be like, oh, they got booted? Damn. Right? But there's something about the way that it's structured where it's like it trained people to come in. Like, there were shows before then where you needed to see every episode, but this was one where it was like there was audience interaction. It trained you to tune in at the same time every night because
you don't want to miss your chance to vote.
You don't want to miss your chance to vote. You won't know who's going. You want to see who. Like, there were. It was like, and was it 2 nights a week that they would do it, right? There was the results night, and there was
there was like, exactly, and there was like, oh, okay, like I could miss this episode of American Idol, but not only do I not get to vote, they don't really put these things on YouTube, so like I won't be able to see Bo Bice his performance from this week if I miss it.
The training.
Bo Bice.
So we then, because of that, we get trained into the idea of tuning in and seeing every single episode to know what's going on, and then we get familiar with the idea that, oh, we just have all of it at once. That's awesome, right? But then it's just really wild to see the way just the TV is progressing and like the way that storytelling is affected by the medium, right? On the one hand, you could see an entire season all the way back by, in the past, buying the VHS or buying the DVDs, and before that you couldn't.
I did.
And before that you couldn't at all. You're watching episodes of I Love Lucy, they're standalone. Maybe
you
there's
did not
some
need to
developments, but they're like super long term, and they're just like because they're having fun. They're not essential to knowing what's going on, right? The relationships maintain the same, and this is true for a lot of the shows back in that time, and even a little bit before that.
It is also why cop shows and doctor shows became like the two dominant genres, is because these are professions that in a television context you can have an exciting, tense storytelling bit in this episode that is completely done with because you either caught the guy or you saved the life or you didn't. So that's
ending though. That's ending though. Like probably not across the board, but my household is deep in one Chicago right now. So we're watching Chicago Fire, Chicago PD, and Chicago Med, and there was an episode we just watched that I shit you not referenced a 10-year-old episode of SVU and included the cast of Law & Order SVU in Chicago PD, who also were in Chicago Fire and included characters from Chicago Med. And it's gotten to a point where if you want to keep up, we watched 2 episodes of Chicago PD, and the second episode was a follow-up of the last Chicago Fire episode. And so we had to stop this Chicago PD episode and go back and watch the Chicago Fire episode to understand what the fuck is happening in Chicago PD.
Right, and I think the other thing that was also compounded.
They're doing Arrowverse, the Chicago-verse.
They call it one Chicago.
But literally,
Buffy and Angel shit.
The Marvel Cinematic Universe, it changed the way everybody viewed content. The second they made the Avengers, right?
Don't call TV content, please. Don't call it content.
But it
go ahead.
is. I mean,
it is
its own
marketing
thing. It's
speak.
It's not the same thing as content.
Call it art or television. Don't call it content, please.
I would anyway. Regardless, the way that the Marvel Cinematic Universe affected other mediums of storytelling, right? It wasn't that it was a new idea what Marvel was doing with their movies. It was that it had never been done in that way that successfully. And that became a driving factor. That became something people strive for. We've seen it in the entirety of the Warner Brothers lineup for the Justice League, where regardless of the loss, regardless of the risk, we must make an interconnected universe.
Right. We must make a show about John Cena's Peacemaker before we've even released his introductory movie, which they're currently doing.
Right.
That is DC's failing, is that they're always they're eating their own tail before they've started running. But yes. The Marvel Cinematic Universe did not invent these, because again you had Buffy and Angel that would play off of each other, right. And TV shows used to cross over casts all the time, really just for promotion. It's the exactly it didn't invent it, but it was the most successful game changer of that regard.
Right, and it was the one that I would say the one that caused the largest zeitgeist shift in terms of storytelling on a broad scale.
Can I be really boring?
Yeah.
We're talking a lot about how TV's changed. I am constantly assaulted by the thought while watching any TV right now that I'm tired of it because it's the same.
Here's the thing.
I think that TV. I'm also coming at this from just having written
network TV, or are you talking about
period? Just period.
Really?
I'm coming at this from having just written a 2,000-word article about prestige television, but in PlayStation games, because that's all PlayStation exclusives are. It's prestige television. This is a soapbox, so if you don't want to hear it, then I get that. Prestige television is to me Yeah, scrub up.
With the soap from the box.
Yeah. No, I got it.
Okay,
Get yourself
okay.
some Irish Spring because this is gonna make you stink.
Yeah. Yeah. Give me some Dove soap for my sensitive skin.
Yes. Prestige television is not. I'm trying not to be inflammatory.
I'm doing object work for the audience. I'm doing some really good pantomime object work.
Kevin is scrub-a-dub-dubbing that neck.
Yeah, he's preparing himself for the filth I'm about to spill. Prestige.
Go hard.
Prestige,
do it.
Prestige
Say something
television.
inflammatory.
Okay. Prestige television ain't new. It's not even particularly unique. And I don't think it's all everyone thinks it's cracked up to be. That being said, it is important. Prestige television is just people going, I don't have the money to make a movie, but what if I took the investment and no, maybe not money, but I don't have
because like a television show would be more expensive than a movie. Right. But also, real quick, how are you defining prestige TV?
Good question.
Well, that's another big part of it. Is a lot of people lump stuff.
Okay, sure.
Right, like I would argue that Witcher
completely fair
is Game of Thrones is, but at the same time, I would also say that fuck it.
I would not lump The Witcher in, but that might be a
it's an evolution. It's the problem with saying that all music that uses electronic instruments is electronic music. Electronic is like the section of the library you go to for nonfiction, but there's 30 different kinds of nonfiction in here.
It's like referring to every bit of animation as the same genre, as if it's not a medium. It's like looking at Toy Story
and saying, "I don't watch anime. Get the fuck out of here. You don't know what you're talking."
It's like, okay, exactly.
But like, what I'm trying to say is that like, prestige television was just, what if we made movies longer? And that itself may have...
Which is a flaw with so many of these fucking shows.
Exactly. Which like sounds in itself to be innovative, but it's not. It's just like, I don't know how to tell a story.
It's ignoring the structural elements of a TV show that it's fundamentally relying on for its storytelling.
Yes. And so, the reason why I bring this up is... but here's the inflammatory shit. Shows don't do new shit. They just fucking don't. That's why WandaVision's exciting. Because to me, tying a show to a series of movies that are also tied to... Like, the only way for these mediums, in my opinion, to, like, evolve... And I'm not saying this is even the correct evolution, but the only way for them to evolve is to stop being the same medium forever. And, like, movies started doing that with 3D, and then 3D fell off, and that's fine. But like, there's ways that we're going to see all of these mediums change, and that's why I think video games are extremely important to all of this, because like, they are, I think, the next medium is taking a film or TV or whatever and making it interactive, or making it like a virtual livable space that you can interact with, or things happen around you. But that being said, like, the reason I lump Witcher and Game of Thrones into prestige television is they're grown-up prestige television. AMC, and there's shows that did this in the 70s and 80s that were short and like weren't serialized and had like a building narrative and then ended and boom. Like, it existed in the 70s, it existed in the 80s, but the time it really popped off was with like Mad Men in 2000 or Breaking Bad in 2008 or Walking Dead in 2010, and I don't mean to give AMC all the credit. Those are just the ones that when you mention them, everyone goes, oh.
Also, all of those shows started within a couple years of each other.
Exactly.
Like, all of those shows are beginning at the same time.
Exactly. And AMC,
beginning at approximately... Yeah.
AMC did this thing with Mad Men and went, oh, shit, that really worked. And then did it like 4 or 5 more times to varying degrees of success. But I think that...
But also, AMC is cribbing a lot off of the previous generation of HBO shows. Like, it's all feeding off of each other. Yeah, you got
Sopranos on The Wire before any of these that, like, started it. But
exactly. Deadwood had already come and gone before AMC introduced
And AMC was like, but what if we did it for people that have cable instead of people that have Cable Plus? And then
extra bonus cable.
Exactly. And then
it's not TV, it's HBO.
Yeah, it's literally the only time we've ever seen trickle down anything work anywhere, when HBO does something and then smaller networks do it and then smaller networks still do it. But like,
well, I would argue we're always doing trickle down feeding in media, but
I wouldn't consider that trickle down. I would just consider that.
I mean, that's just how the artistic expression works, right? Is that like there's a shot in
fundamentally
Spanish movie.
Oh my god! Not to get too much into it, but fundamentally, when it comes down to art and the consumption of art and the spread of ideas, the more money, the more exclusive something is, the broader impact it has, just because everything within the art realm is super classist and needs to be dismantled. But fundamentally, that's the way it works. These things that have all this money are the ones that get access and display and recognition and all of these accolades and such. And then people take these and go, oh, let's try that here. And then the ideas are refined, and they're made more accessible, but it always starts one place.
Right. So the reason I bring any of this up is because I kind of butt up pretty firmly against the idea that Witcher's really unique at all. Like, it's a good time story. It's a good
unique in its execution. I think it's refreshing. Unique is not the word I would use. I would very rarely use the word unique to describe content or sorry, Kevin, not content.
Thank you.
Storytelling. I hesitate to use the word unique to describe any sort of artistic endeavor ever, because there's nothing new. There's only
and every creator
ideas. And you can bring something refreshing to the table. You can do new versions, which are elements of new, but at its core, it's still a fantasy TV show. We have words for these things: non-linear storytelling, fantasy world. Like, these are things that we know, right? But it's done in such a way with a diversity that we haven't really seen before. It's done effectively, which is difficult, and that's what makes it exciting. But I agree, the way that it's pitched as like, but the idea of something being like, oh, this is so new and we've never seen this before, it's like, really though? Because we have a lot of shows that function like this, that are
I mean, we've talked about The Witcher in reference to so many other shows. We've talked about fucking Xena, the X-Files, like Monster of the Week
version
shit.
of Game of Thrones.
Right, like there's all, because any creator, any artist worth their salt will tell you, like, you know, they're doing the shit they've seen and they're trying to do it well, you know, because no creator thinks they're any creator I would trust would not say, oh, I'm an original. They would say, like, they would acknowledge their influences, because they all fucking have them, and they're all learning from what has come before.
Absolutely. And sometimes that's cross medium too, though. Like, so you could say, all right,
absolutely,
Twin Peaks, which some people, you could argue, was like new. That was new for TV.
Certainly felt new.
It certainly felt new. But as an art form, surrealism was not new. It was not new at all.
Right. David Lynch had been doing it in cinemas for decades, and then said, like, can this be a procedural TV show on CBS?
Like French playwrights and like that guy, you know, like, so like these things trickle back, right, to it's influence upon influence upon influence, and basically, and it's the same thing with genre in music. You can't define any genre as like new, right? We have small incremental changes, right, that are like adaptations and revisions and refreshing takes on old things, until eventually when you step back a little bit, you go, wait a minute, 10 years has passed and this is something entirely different than what it was 10 years ago. It doesn't make it new, it makes it an iteration of these things. Like, small changes and developments cause for creative developments.
But I also like caution myself against saying that like iteration can't breed newness, because like you could argue that there was no such thing as noise rock at a point, and like it came from something else, but it's at a certain point it turns into just a game of chicken and the egg, right? If you zoom in super 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 close, it's always going to be, well, it was this, then it was this, then it was this, then it was this, then it was this. It didn't just appear. But when you zoom out, you can go, oh, it exists in this place and it not in this place. But it's not new. It fundamentally came through small changes that built up to it. You know what I mean? But we've seen new music before. It's happened. So like it could happen again.
Even still, when you look at new music, it's almost always the way that we describe new music is using terms that we're already familiar with, and that same thing goes with art, same thing goes with TV, same thing goes with eventually we invent new names for them. But like when pointillism first came out, like it wasn't pointillism, or rather, sorry, not pointillism. That's a technique more so than what am I trying to say?
No, I get you. Like, okay, take film noir, for example. It's not as if one day someone sat down and said, I'm inventing a new genre. It's called film noir.
And it eventually became a general... And then a new term came up for it.
Exactly. It was all of this, like, simultaneous thinking of the feelings and the way that, like, film technology was advancing and the way that people could suddenly play with light in a way that they hadn't fucking done before. And they could play with lenses and angles and voiceover in ways that they weren't able to before. And then it's only later that we're like, hey, this kind of seems like a movement that was happening. It was dark. Film noir. It's almost and we call it that
a retrospective naming. Like when we look back, right? There's
no one that walks out with something new and names it gets that name to stick.
Right.
Well, it's like I call this Astro Blaze, and they're like,
yeah, the ones that do like Dogma 95 like kind of suck, you know, like they're like we're doing a new one.
They come out with a manifesto before it comes out. Sometimes there's a manifesto associated with it, but even still the naming comes later, right? Like the way that it's solidified in culture comes later. We can look back. You look at Bauhaus, right? The literal art school. Became a name for a style, an aesthetic, a literal school, but a school of art. It also
became the inspiration for the name of a cat cafe called Mauhaus that I used to work for.
Yeah.
But when you look back at that, it was literally an art school. They weren't being like, yeah, this is the Bauhaus style. It was like, no, we're at school for art, and this is the art we're making. So it wasn't that they just came up with a new style of art.
The schools of acting that evolved out of...
you can look Stanislavski, you know, like you can go through all these different, you know, acting coaches, and when you get back to a certain point, you're like, wait a minute, this guy taught this guy taught this guy taught this. It's Plato taught or Socrates taught.
That's
Plato,
exactly what I was thinking.
Aristotle taught Alexander the Great. Like you go down the list, and it's like,
who put Socrates in charge of philosophy? Plato. The Good Place, great show. And so much of these advancements happen with the advent of technology. Like, people have written about, like, the advent of music-making technology in Los Angeles and New York at this certain period is how we get to the hip-hop and rap movements of that time. Or, like, to piggyback on...
instruments, too. Like, you go down to, like New Jack Swing, right? The style of hip-hop and, like, the orchestra hit. Like, we go back to, was it Finesse by Bruno Mars? Drippin' in finesse. You know, that whole thing. And they got this, like...
But And
they got... like, that whole hit sound, that orchestra hit, orc hit, was literally a preset in a synth keyboard that came out in the 80s.
Yeah.
And that became defining of a genre, of a sound. It's like...
Exactly.
There's a really good track in Daft Punk's possibly last album ever, Ram, that's got Giorgio Moroder on it, and he's talking about
the click track,
develop using the Moog modular to make the music that Daft Punk went on to perfect 30 years later, 20 years later, whatever. I say perfect. Obviously, people have different opinions, but Daft Punk is
like. They're fucking Daft Punk.
They were very important to the style of music that they make, right? Like their fucking helmets are on the Mount Rushmore of the style of music. They're two of the four heads, right?
Yeah.
And like to piggyback on something Daddy Host said earlier, like specifically in the last 10 years, video games have exploded as far as not only technology but storytelling is concerned. And one could argue is that like, well, books have been around for centuries, music's been around for centuries, cinema had been around for a century, and so, like, but video games were new, comparably to all this other shit, and there's so much more to learn, and a lot of great video games, like the fucking Uncharted franchise, are borrowing very, like, obviously, from bits of cinema, but now we're making cinema that's ripping off the Uncharted franchise, because of the way they took that and they fucking ran.
You know what's
with
crazy?
You know,
as like someone, because as I'm sure some of y'all who have been listening to this podcast for a little while have gathered, I am very new to video games. I like just got a console. I know.
Sorry, I'm an asshole. I'm such an
gamer.
asshole.
No, it's totally fine. But literally, so for me, I'm entering this realm of like learning about them in a way. Like I was aware, from an outsider perspective, was like, yo, video games are definitely changing the way that we do storytelling. Like this is major. I need to get into it, and then I finally fucking did it because I'm an adult. But but now that I'm like playing these games and I'm thinking about it, especially like my introduction into video games has literally been playing the Arkham trilogy all at once and seeing the way that these games develop in how they're executed and their graphics back to back super quickly has been just a wild eye-opening experience to be like, okay, wait a minute, we've had video games for let's say, for the sake of argument, around 30 years,
50 years.
50, god damn, really?
Yeah.
But like, I mean, like Pong,
yeah,
exactly,
right.
is in the Pong and Tetris are in the 70s.
Right. Let's console gaming. That was 80s, 90s.
The 70s. Pong.
That's when it blows up.
Well,
but
yeah,
the 80s and the 90s is when like everyone has an NES.
Like
everyone
games
has
away
a
for a
Sega.
minute because they kind of failed. And then Nintendo was like, we're going to put the arcade in your house. And America was like, fuck you, that'll never work. And then Nintendo
but functionally, but like if you look
and
at
then they made the NES, which is still the best-selling console of all time.
Yeah, and then Nintendo cashed that check for the next 25 years.
Yeah.
Nintendo was like, fine, don't make something to compete. We'll just do it alone.
All right.
But as someone that's like getting into this like now, right? I'm looking at it and seeing the way it's progressed. I'm like, damn, this has been around for not very long comparatively, right?
Oh, right.
And
compared to like the concept of music and theater, right? Like
any
not
of
very
other
long.
storytelling narratives, right? Also not to mention video games as storytelling devices, right? Because Pong and Tetris are not stories. Like there's
not in the way
we can even get down
yes,
to like
exactly.
Sonic and Mario and be like, yeah, there's like loose plot. They're not stories, right? They're not stories like okay, we've put them on later, but you get what I'm saying. It's just we're modern develop. I don't want to say modern because it's all of it's modern, but more recent developments. And I just sit back and I go, yo, what the fuck are video games gonna look like at the end of the century?
Oh, they're gonna be so fucking different.
It's gonna be crazy.
Yeah. They're gonna be so fucking different.
Ready Player One,
insane. And we just have no idea. Like, imagine saying to someone who only go way back. We're talking Gregorian chants, right? And you say, "Hey, check this out," and you play "Take on Me," right? They're gonna be like, "What the actual fuck is that?"
Get burnt at the stake. We're gonna get burnt at the
James
stake.
Cameron's Avatar. They're gonna shit themselves.
Yeah. Oh, we found aliens. Nope, they're fake.
No,
what?
They're fake.
They're not
No,
fake.
we made
How'd
that.
you make this screen do color so big and it's three-dimensional?
We made that.
Yeah, sure.
Like people used to be scared of a TV of a train going.
Gabe Newell of Valve fame recently said that like the big wall that games are needing to break through now is that like eyes and ears are shitty inputs, and that like we need to figure out
jack it right into
we need to figure out how to
forehead.
project images like to your brain and shit. I was like, all right, whatever, dude, chill.
All right, game.
That's
okay.
a bit much.
Make a game
it's true,
and
though.
then talk to me.
It's true though.
Yeah,
like
no.
that's where it's gonna go. Eventually, it's gonna be less like I'm looking at this and more like I'm doing it in my sleep or whatever. That's whatever. But
I would think we're closer to like losing hands than experiencing it through our eyes, but I know what you mean. Is that like there's gonna be some fucking technology that pushes us beyond and over the top.
So the reason I brought all of this up, like 20 minutes ago at this point now,
The Witcher,
is that like there's a lot of people that I've interacted with who think that The Witcher is this wholly new thing, or like I think it's the same symptom that we're having with WandaVision, which is people forgot how to watch TV. And like eventually you're impacted by something and you realize like, or you don't realize that you haven't watched a TV show and gotten into it for a long time. And so one hits you and you go, this is the best thing you've ever seen. And then it just kind of controls conversation. And I'm not saying y'all were doing this, but like there's just the article I wrote recently, and I'll post it in a couple of days so everybody can read it, is pointing out that like Sony's gotten this reputation over the last 8 years while the PS4 has been out for being this company that puts out and publishes incredible single-player experiences. And I wrote an article about my basically like grudge and also like infatuation with their products, because for all intents and purposes, the PlayStation library of exclusives are just prestige television. And that sounds really good at first, but I also think prestige television is just a bunch of people recycling what's already been done and putting a nice coat of sheen on it and being like, look at this. It's like a movie, but it's TV. And this is like, it's like prestige television, but you can interact with it. And when you look at it closely, like Kev said earlier, Uncharted's just fucking Indiana Jones. And more than that, it's Tomb Raider with a different character. And Tomb Raider did it in the fucking 90s. God of War is just Dark Souls. Ghost of Tsushima is just Assassin's Creed, but looks nicer. Like, all of these things exist, and they just build on
but
all
Batman's Batman.
No, that's a very good...
Yeah, you ever think about that?
That's a very good argument.
You ever think about Batman?
That's a very good argument, except the only thing Batman really revolutionized was combat. The game itself, especially Arkham Asylum, is just Metroid Prime. It's just Metroid.
Like a 3D.
Yeah, Metroid was like,
but
oh,
in
I
the
can't
same
go through
way
this door
that,
right
like,
now. I don't have the right ability. And then you play the game a little more and go, I have an ability to get through these doors. Also, I can go back and do this. And like, that's just Arkham Asylum.
But at the same time, as you say that like Uncharted is just Tomb Raider, it's like obviously borrowing from that, but also like Uncharted's 2, 3, and 4 tell a better story than any Tomb Raider game.
Exactly. That's
even the new ones. It's that,
exactly.
and
that's
God
of
War is like, yes,
I don't want to say perfecting. It's improving upon ideas. It's development. It's I don't think I see what you're saying. It's the lens that we look at that shiny coat of sheen though. Do we look at that shiny coat of sheen as, look, it's an entirely new thing, or do we look at that shiny coat of sheen as the process of development itself? That shiny coat of sheen, as time goes on, layers and layers and layers until it is eventually something new. But in the moment, it's just a piece of paint.
Yeah, and I think that as like a game journalist, my struggle is understanding that what you just said is true. What 90% of people playing games understand is not that. The arguments are these games are revolutionary, and it's like they're not. They're just but like what's both of your points? Yeah, both of your points, like Kev said, Uncharted 1, 2, and 3's story is very, very good, and that's mostly I think because
that's my next video game.
Or 1 through 4, Uncharted 1 through 4, and
I would say 2, 3, 4, 1 is fine, but that's just I'm just nitpicking.
But yeah,
regardless,
those stories are better than Tomb Raider. But I think that that's possible because they went, let's just make Tomb Raider, because that's
put a good story in it.
That's easy to do, and let's just make it look good and be a good story. Ghost of Tsushima is like, let's just make Assassin's Creed 2 again because we know how, and let's make it look really good and really draw influence from Akira Kurosawa and make the story incredible.
Aren't there only like functionally like 5 types of video games? Like if we there's first-person shooter.
Yeah, there's 5 types of video games. There's 5 types of stories. It's about doing the.
Do you have a bow or do you have a rifle? Are you fighting with your fists or not?
No.
Can I take? Can I?
Go ahead, Kev.
Can I take a fucking Thanos Infinity Glove and can I put the fucking gems of everything that we've been talking about on the glove right now? Okay, I'm gonna take the Prestige TV and Game Stone. I'm gonna take the Word Content Stone, and I'm gonna take Jace's previously mentioned people ran away from the screen because of a train, which is a fiction, and I'm gonna put them all in the glove and say that our problem is marketing. Our problem is marketing departments, and we just answer only to marketing departments and people in QA and PR who try to take art and make it fit into boxes and make you think something that it isn't, which is art and entertainment. And that is all that it's ever
based on that.
Snap. I killed marketing.
After the dust, we all realized that The Witcher is the best result we could possibly imagine out of books that were turned into games that then heavily influenced the creation of what was supposed to be, I think, a movie that ended up turning into a long-form television show.
And if we said, what if we did Xena X-Files? Done.
And I think going back to what Kevin said, marketing is the real issue with it, because marketing has this way of affecting the way that we consume the content that we market, right? And I think it's really exciting when we're able to like take advantage of that marketing, but it's also really easy to point out examples when it bites them in the ass. But then when it does what it's quote unquote supposed to do, we get caught up and we pretend it's not real, right? We're like, this is the greatest thing ever. It's like, no, you're literally just spewing back what you learned in a commercial that you watch. But my favorite example that I love to go to is Jennifer's Body.
Jennifer's
You
Body.
familiar with the movie Jennifer's Body?
Oh yeah, I'm familiar.
Gay
I'm very
ass
curious what the
horror
fuck you're gonna.
movie.
So Jennifer's Body was a box office flop. It did not do well in theaters, right? It gained some cult following because it's a very fun movie, right? It did not do well because fundamentally the people on the marketing team went, got it, Megan Fox, hot. It's called Jennifer's Body. We're going to play with this kind of like sexy, like they tried to pitch it as this femme fatale, like they tried to pitch it to men, essentially, right? They gendered its marketing.
No way.
Because we gender. Capitalism is innately tied with gendering things, right? I won't get into that. Do your own research. Actually, I'd probably love to talk about it.
It absolutely is. Jace is correct.
It's fundamentally baked into the concepts, the colonial concepts. They are hand in hand, right? So they gendered the marketing for Jennifer's Body in the almost an opposite, because gender is also informative of the politics and the creation of pieces as well in a very different manner. So the marketing team gendered it for men, and the writer made it with the intention of being a glimpse for women. It was
they literally took
story.
The only audience that this movie was not explicitly appealing to.
Intended for. It's like when you're in
women and the gays are the target audience for this movie.
Went, like, we're gonna pitch it to men because Megan Fox, and it fucked the movie over. It ruined its box office.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so we can see the way marketing affects the way content is consumed in real time from the instances where it doesn't work. And when it does work, we just shrug it off as the product's that good. It actually is what we said it was. No, it's not. You just bought a fucking commercial. You bought in what a bunch of people who get paid way too much money to decide said was good about this thing. And then you adopt those phrases. I've had friends talk about this thing, and they literally quote back to me word for word stuff in commercials. And I'm like, why are you a walking advertisement? Like, what is that? You know what I mean?
That's how I feel about the word content. But yes, yes.
But yes, I mean, but that is the thing. It gets marketed into that realm as content creators, as artists. We're constantly forced by marketing to blur those lines, right? Instagram is making people go, what is my art and what is my content? Are they the same thing? Or are they different things?
Yes. We as human beings should not be talking about our brands. And I will do it as a joke, but like we should not co-opt for ourselves words like brand and words like content because the marketers are winning. That's what that means.
But that's why I use the word content for TV shows, because that is content.
But content
that's television content versus the way that we've reappropriated it into like, this is my content. It's like, this is your art. You made art. You are not held to the standards of commercials. You're not held standards to the company that's producing it, the network that's making it, the producers, the directors, all the people funding it. You are not making content for an amalgamation. You are making art as an individual, not content for a brand.
So Jace, here's my problem with content, and I would imagine that Kev's going to agree with this in some way. Mm-hmm. If you call TV shows content, and Logan Paul calls whatever bullshit he makes content, and
you are equating
they're the same thing.
You are.
What I am saying is Logan Paul and is indicative of a co-opting of that language, right? Logan Paul.
No, the language is made for Logan Paul. That's what the content is. Not a word we've been using for decades. That Logan Paul is. That is what content is. Like, oh, my favorite content creator.
The word
Steven Spielberg, my favorite content
but
creator.
It wasn't used in that way, though. What I'm saying is the co-opting of that word also comes with it a new use of that word, and that word comes back to it. But fundamentally, there were board meetings. There are board. You pitch your show to the Fox table. They pick the content for their lineup, their TV. That is their content. When they talk about it from a business perspective, that's their content. It was then co-opted by individuals to say that this is my brand, this is what I'm doing, this is my content, and it turned into a new word. It turned into a new usage.
No, the board members and their marketing team they taught us all to start saying the word. And
exactly.
When I think all three no, but that means they won if we start using the word. That means that we are buying into what they are selling.
That's literally what I'm saying. I'm saying TV shows are content in that way. They are beholden to producers, commercials, networks.
They are literally okay. Yes, they are
training
literally
and artists
content because content means
and that's why we're calling our art content.
But content means the thing in the space. When we use the word ourselves, I think we would all three of us agree that the way we use language rewrites the way our brains think.
Correct.
Right? It's that, like, an example, I don't know how true this is, but, like, for centuries we didn't have the word blue, and that's how you get Homer writing the Odyssey and talking about wine-colored seas, because he didn't have the word blue, so his brain did not properly perceive blue. That is exactly the same process that happens when we start thinking of television, movies, music, art, like, theater, any genre of art or music. If we start referring to books as content, that means that we are because we have our brain. Human brains love to compartmentalize. That's what we do. Like the human brain is set up to compartmentalize, and you have to consciously unwrite those processes because compartmentalization is easy: in group, out group. When you use the word content as an umbrella term for anything that is produced, because that's the way it's used now. And again, this is a new, the word content in the history of the English language is not new. Its use as an umbrella term for art and media is very new and is specifically like YouTube and Instagram.
It is directly
that is where that word becomes a word that we start using in the same way that we use brand.
That is where that word became what we currently know it as. But that word started with the commercialization of mainstream media.
I mean,
TV, movies that are beholden to a label, not indie works, not independent films, not small TV, not web series, not that stuff, right? But then through the effects of internalizing capitalism as a society, we then said, wait a minute, this thing that networks do, we can say about ourselves. I need to make money off of my being as an artist. So then we start calling our art content to emulate to emulate commercial structures, and then the word takes on new meaning. And then it becomes something that when you take it back and you use it in a new context to describe TV and movies, minimizes what's actually there. When in reality, content simply is taking art and viewing it through a commercial lens. And that is something that TV networks have been doing for years. And movies have been doing for years.
That is its base, and but its current definition is not that, and it is
and that's because of its internalization into individualism.
But why would you take that phrase and consciously apply it yourself, unless you're trying to reclaim the word content? Why would you consciously apply it to art? And I'm not accusing you. I get
what you're saying. I agree. That is the question. But people taking that word and putting it on themselves has to do with them internalizing capitalism. It is not a good thing. It is not a good thing.
Okay, well, I appreciate that. But it
is not a good thing. It is us internalizing commercialism and capitalism.
Right, and I am asking our audience and myself, which, I'll catch myself doing it too, because it is like the way that we talk now, but it is us consciously adapting the attitude of a marketer. I am not equating that with marketing one's art, which is not the same thing as taking on the attitude as a capital M marketer.
Yes.
Because when we do that, when we start referring to the hundreds, thousands of offerings on Netflix, the app, as content, the umbrella term capital C content, What we are doing is we are now thinking of these things the way that marketers want us to think about them, as opposed to making the marketers adapt to the way we think about things. And when we consciously use the word content as creators or audiences, we are diminishing the idea of art, because, as you said, we are now buying into this stage of capitalism's perception of art. And I'm not pretending that nobody made money off of art. Like, that's right. Obviously what we've been doing for centuries. Like, you didn't get into the Globe Theater for free. Like, Shakespeare was not some pure being that did it all for the love of it. I'm sure he liked it, but, like, my man's got to make a living.
I see what point you're saying. As far as referring back to the stuff Netflix releases and TV shows and all this stuff, referring back to it with the newly conceptualized reappropriation of the word content does a disservice to the creators of this art. I think
directly. Yes.
Yes, and I agree with that sentiment. I also think it's important for us to acknowledge fundamentally that the marketing aspect of those shows is integral to how they are made, and it does affect what we are seeing, right?
Undeniable.
I think they're two sides of the same coin. I think I agree. Calling things content should be a bad word. I think it does a disservice to the art that these things are. I think it also simultaneously says something about the system that produces these works, rather restricts these works. When we talk about Patriot Act with Hassan Minhaj on Netflix, right? Certain episodes are not allowed to be aired in certain places due to relationships with government and Netflix. And Netflix, and I mean this as a dirty word, a content creator stifles the artist.
Sure.
So it's complicated. I agree. We shouldn't call things content because it is a dirty word. It diminishes the artistic value of all these things. But it's also important for us to acknowledge that there are acts of commercialization in play. Finding that balance is tricky.
That's certainly true.
In current society. I think that's the base of it. I feel like we're saying the same thing very similarly, but from very different perspectives. I think more as where it came from, and you're speaking more towards how we using it now.
It's interesting to me because, like, I tried to have this argument once. I was in. There's a chance that one of the people that was a part of this argument is listening to this. I think that this person listens to this show, and thank you for doing that. But I'm sure that this whole conversation's been very interesting to them. But I was in San Diego.
I hope it's interesting.
In 2019. I was in San Diego in 2018, and it was for Comic-Con. So in July, we were hanging out. It was a big group of us, and we were talking about, like, I don't know how it came up, but someone brought up content and making content. That's good content. And my brain just fucking short-circuited, and I was like, stop fucking calling it that. And they were like, why? And I brought up the thing that I said earlier that Kev finished my sentence literally on, and that's that, like, Hemingway, content, Logan Paul, content. They ain't the same, but if you call them the same thing, now they
become the same thing. Yeah.
And I was met with this really, it was an onslaught, one, so that's hard to, like, overcome. But I was met with this, like, really unified voice from everybody that's like, that's dumb. You're being dumb. It's this. And I didn't have the wherewithal to, like, sit back and be like, no, we only call it that because, like, one dude who worked with the marketing department that said it a lot started saying it a lot, and then everyone was like, well, he worked with the marketing department and they're saying it and it works, so we should say it because it works. And further, I hate when people talk about personal branding. My personal brand. That's my brand. Because, like, for it to be a
You're a human being. Why are you trying to be a brand?
To be a more tonally deaf thing in America, for one, is to, like, say that you are a thing that was used to mark ownership on often animals, but in this country also often humans. Like, fuck off. I don't want my shit to be a brand.
Yeah.
Because it sucks. And, like, my uncle has this deep disagreement with the fact that, like, when something scary happens, or we stub our toes, or we sneeze, all of those things end in some reference to the Christian God. Like, something scary happens, oh my God, stub our toes, God damn it, you sneeze, bless you.
They all have to do with colonization of thought and capitalism.
Well, no,
like they're all tied.
But his argument is that, like, why don't we just come up with something else to say?
Right.
And my argument for ages about content and brand has been like, why don't we just stop fucking saying it?
We already had words for all these things. Why are we trying to...
We already had words for all these things. We just dumbed it down for the uneducated masses to be able to scoop it up like a Dyson fucking vacuum.
Yeah, I know. I agree. I think it's important that we start using different words for that. But at the same time, I also think it's important that we do respect where they came from, not as like respect in a good way, but like fundamentally acknowledge where these things come from and the harm that commercialization and capitalism has done to the individual. When we view to the things we make as content, the word content, but literally, etymologically, as a word, invokes and implies restrictions. There is a box. These are the contents of my box. This is my content. This is what I have. These are the things that we sell. These are the things that we own. It is purely based on a commercial standard. And it's important for us to be able to go, hey, we should be able to look at massive corporations and understand that, okay, this is going to be controversial. I love this stuff so much. The Marvel Cinematic Universe is Disney content. By definition.
People have often compared it to a factory assembly line.
Exactly.
Right?
And that's exactly what I mean by the word content. And I think that gives when we use that word for everything, it takes it, rightfully so, we should be viewing it as a dirty word because we're implying that the commercialization is a dirty process. And I agree. We shouldn't be calling things that are art that. I'm not saying that stuff made by these creators isn't art. I'm more so speaking toward Disney as the word we don't like, a brand. Disney is a brand. They
are a brand. That's the appropriate use of that word.
That's literally all I'm saying. That's literally all I'm saying.
That's the right word? Okay.
It's been internalized into the individual, and that's why it's a dirty word, because we are internalizing commercialism and capitalism.
If Disney wants to call their shit content internally, I can't argue with that. I am just encouraging the people watching WandaVision to not call WandaVision content, because someone's fucking trying to make art and don't fucking call
I think
content.
It's also perfectly fine to say there's a lot of content on Disney Plus. There's a lot of content in
the
Xbox Game Store,
what it is.
because that is the detailing the contents of its storage.
This is there. Like law degree level analysis of the word content. I'm very proud of us.
Listeners at home, if anybody's keeping score, how many episodes has it been now where we go off on some 30-minute diatribe about the nature of art? How many has it been? Because it's a few.
Basically, what we're illustrating is that we're a group of people deeply insulted by the world at large, deciding that they should put one term on something because they can't be fucking bothered to care to learn the nuance of something. That's really it.
Yep.
That's really it.
It's interesting. I'm now thinking about this as like, Caleb, I would qualify you as a video game guy. That's like what you do. Kevin, I would consider you like a film guy. That's what you do. And I would consider myself to be a theater person. That's like what I do. And these are all storytelling devices.
You know what's really funny is the three of us are all writers.
Exactly, but that's the common thread. And that's, going back to the book thing. I actually would literally not once ever call a book content, right? Because you're not going to look at a publisher and be like, "This is all of the stuff made by this publisher." You don't lump them in the same way.
What's funny is though many books have a table of fucking contents in them.
Well, in non-fictional, but that's again on a different etymological basis. That literally means within the confines. There's a cover. There's literally confines on a book.
That's the right use of the word.
You know what I'm going to say from now on? I'm going to end the conversation with this. And I'm kidding. We can go on if you want. I'm going to call myself from now on a content creator. I make people content.
I love that. I'm content. I'm a contempt creator.
I think that's beautiful.
People hate
Fuck
me.
off.
I make contempt.
No,
make
genuinely, I piss people off.
Sometimes art should piss people off. Sometimes my content really pisses people off.
Some people call me a punk content creator. I say fuck you.
My name's Chase, and I make contempt, not content. And my life is pretty crazy.
I want to tell you about my favorite content creator, Henrik Ibsen. Let me tell you about a little content creator. He made a lot of stuff. I'm talking Socrates.
The hand motion. See, like the end stage for all of this. I think it's one of those things where like industrialization happens, right? And everyone was farmers, and then industrialization happens, and it's like, oh, well, now most of us don't need to be farmers. So now we have to specialize, and specialize was the like blanket term. And then eventually out of that rose painters and potters and carpenters and carpenters obviously, and all these things were around before, but you had an influx of people doing those things. I think we're similarly in an age of digital industrialization where people are realizing that like, oh, I can make money here. And I used to be a farmer, aka I used to walk to my car and drive my car to work and go into a workplace and work, and now I can do it from home. And so I think that like content creator is very much the like, you need to specialize, and like I hate it. And I'm sure people back in the day that were moving out of farming into more industrialized spaces hated being labeled as like those folk, and you know that they were, because like the world was changing and people hate change. But I think that like what we're going to start seeing is you're going to see like, I want content creator to just diss a fucking peer. And because people need to specialize. And like when they do specialize, you'll see that like I'm a streamer. I'm a video producer. I'm a podcaster. I'm a journalist.
We need to specify medium. If we can talk about the medium by which we create versus the product.
Yeah, and I think that like the reason we get content creator and the reason content exploded is because humanity right now is in a phase, and I don't think it's going to end particularly soon.
It's called capitalism.
It is a phase. Not even just specifically that, though, Jace. Like, I think we're in a phase where we are dominated largely by our social media interactions, and content creators are called content creators because they create on all the social media platforms. So you can't say, I'm a YouTuber, because if you're only doing YouTube, you're failing. You have to be creating you have to be just shelling out dog shit to YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Vimeo, daily, you know what I mean? Like all of these things, Twitch, and how you have your own website as well. And like, that's the opposite of specialization. And that I think is logical and to be expected in the beginning decades of a movement like this. So I think content will eventually disappear from marketing because they're going to, instead of needing content, they're going to have to specialize within that content and say like, well, we have a personality here, here, and here. We need one that does this. So they're not going to look for, no one's hiring content creators. That's still not a thing.
Well, my central claim is that right now the focus is on product over process. And that is a direct result of commercialization and capitalism. And I think with the idea of specialization, it's moving back to process versus product. The second we stop viewing things as this is the thing I've made, this is the content, these are the things within the confines of my being, my brand, right? All of this toxic terminology that comes from an internalization of that process. The way that we eradicate that is by moving back from product to process. It's you don't say I'm a lettuce creator, right? You say I'm a farmer. What are you doing? Not what did you make? You know what I'm saying?
Hey, check out my content here. My favorite content I've ever produced, my 3 kids. This is my favorite content.
But literally, and that comes with an internalization of the way that we look at making things. It's like we don't look at things as like, look at this thing that I made.
Look at this photograph.
Right.
Sorry.
Instead, we're saying that instead of look at this thing I did. Right? We're focused on product because we have internalized capitalism to the extent where it's like we must commodify the things that bring us joy, and that is fundamentally at the core of quote content creators.
Absolutely. This has been the last episode of our Witcher coverage. Was this Did you enjoy this, listener? We talked about The Witcher for a while. Like, it's not like we didn't. I just hope you enjoyed these other avenues.
I'm literally responsible for all of this because I was like, I got a thing I got to say about prestige television.
I love that though.
Yeah, exactly. No, this is in this space.
The best part about this show is when we get to do this kind of stuff, right? When
Absolutely.
we get a little heated, we start to push each other's buttons a little bit, and I know I do it a lot because I'm a little fuck, but like, yeah, I that's what I love is that like I feel so like comfortable with y'all that we can like dive into these issues and be like and get like and be like passionate about these topics because these are topics that matter. And
Absolutely.
It's so easy to get caught up in like
writers and creators and artists,
Yeah,
and consumers.
Just to wrap it back to Witcher.
Do it.
Can I say one of my favorite endings of a show is characters meeting and one looking up and saying, "Where's the other one?" Fuck. God. I was like, when are they gonna meet? When are they gonna meet? And then she's like, "Where's Yennefer?" And you're like, "Fuck, she knows? Fuck, she's gone. Fuck." And then the show just goes to black, and you're like, cool, I have to wait 2 years. Awesome.
God. Rules.
That is a good cliffhanger. I was like, ooh.
Here's the thing. Cliffhangers, everyone hates them when they happen, but everyone talks about them fondly in the future. Like Halo 2. Halo 2 famously has one of the worst, where Master Chief shows back up on a ship flying into a city, and someone's like, "What are you doing?" And he's like, "Finishing this fight." And then the game fucking ended, and they didn't get another one for like 3 years. And people were like, "Fuck this game." Now, it's one of my favorite moments to remember. And so, like, when Ciri's like, "Where's Yennefer?" I was like, "Oh, fuck off." And now I'm like, what a great
how
way to
every
end
episode of
season.
WandaVision ends for me. I'm like, God damn it. No.
But
and
they
then I look
all-
back,
but-
I'm like,
yeah.
I'm so glad I waited a week.
Yeah, and both shows like give you like, okay, like here's some satisfaction, and then here's a bunch of waiting. Like here where like it's Geralt and Ciri are finally together, and then where's Yennefer? and we are off.
Shit.
Yeah, and it's fucking beautiful, well constructed television. Anyway, throwing it.
Instead of off normal, can we say stop saying the word content?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Fuck content. Go home.
Yes.
Yes. So, anyway, this has been the finale of our winter break with The Witcher. Netflix is allegedly putting out both a season 2 of this show and an animated Witcher movie. And both this year, hopefully, fingers crossed, everything goes according to plan. Our coverage of that will depend on where we're at in Community when either of those respective things come out. Maybe we'll just like cover it all after we're done. Who the hell knows? That's a long way away. We don't
add us. We'll figure it out.
I am not committing to anything. I also have a pitch for a short show we should cover after we're done with Community, but I will not share that now. I'll share that with y'all off the air. I don't want to tease.
What a cliffhanger!
I know. So that's exciting. We'll be back next week with Community Season 4. It's here. Gas leak, baby. As far as content is concerned, the play that I wrote that a reading of is currently on YouTube, Scooby-Doo and the Manson Family Murders, getting a lot of views the last week and a half. So if you've ever been curious about that, check it out. Subscribe to that YouTube channel, because I'm sure I will be making a Kickstarter video in the future. So just keep your eyes on that space. Do y'all have anything before we break?
If you're trans, I love you. If you're cis, I love you too. But if you're trans, I love you. That's it. That's what I have to say.
Yeah, I don't got shit. I do video game shit, and go look at it. That's really it. My new kid's awesome, and he shits a lot.
Yep. Hell yeah, me too.
He's completely commandeered my wife from me, which I'm going to resent for years, but it'll be fine.
That explains so much.
Yeah, this whole episode's basically me just being fucking angry.
That's okay. Just like our protagonist, Geralt the Witcher.
You just compared me to Geralt. I'm hard.
Hell yeah.
We can leave now.
Rock fucking hard. But until next week, when we return to Greendale, fuck content.
Fuck content.
Listen to Witcher of plenty.
What?
I love that. You gotta do it. I love it.
Yeah, you put a little melisma on it, yeah.
Machismo. Wait, no, that's not it.
No, melisma.
Machismo.
Musical term.
Yeah. I don't know if I used it properly.
Expect the worst. Some drink champagne, some die of thirst. No way of knowing which way it's going. Hope for the best, expect the worst. Hope for the best, expect the worst. The world's a stage, we're unrehearsed. Some reach the top, friends, while others drop, friends. Hope for the best, expect the I knew a man who said a fortune that was splendid. Then he died the day he planned to go and spend it shouting, live while you're alive. No one will survive. Life is sorrow. Here today and gone tomorrow. Live while you're alive. No one will survive. There's no guarantee. Hope for the best. Expect the worst. You could be Tolstoy or Fanny Hurst. So take your chances, there are no answers. Hope for the best, expect the worst. I knew a man who saved a fortune and was splendid. Then he died the day he planned to go and spend it shouting, live while you're alive. No one will survive. Life is funny. Save your money. Take your money. Live while you're alive. No one will survive. There's no guarantee. Hope for the best. Expect the worst. The rich are blessed. The poor are cursed. That is a fact, friends. The deck is stacked, friends. Hope for the best. Expect even with a good beginning, it's not certain that you're winning. Even with the best of chances, they can make you independent. Look out for the